Hello and welcome to CTN. To learn more about the show, please visit ciotalknetwork.com. And the topic for today is addressing the leadership challenge of unleashing AI's potential. So, what am I talking about? Well, so there is an interesting contradiction for the leaders who are trying to manage the business today. You got AI, which is bringing disruptions in all form and fashion, whether in life and in business, but specifically in business settings, you got issues related to ethics. Then you got issues related to paranoia that may exist within the workforce. And then we want to bring some form of trust among the business users and other stakeholders so that they can truly rely and trust the AI capabilities that it can really help the business, but at the same time, not going to harm the humans. So, other business related workflows and processes and technologies, yes, you can handle, and that the work is still on that front. But what do we do from a leadership standpoint? How do we paint a vision? How do we become that Pied Piper who says, okay, let's include AI in our arsenal and move forward when people are finding it to be totally different type of disruption that has happened, which they never saw coming. And it is fundamentally shaking the very foundations of how we feel as humans, how we deal with technology, how we deal with each other. So, does the leader today have to rethink their leadership mindset, their principles, and the way they execute on the leadership front? And is there a way for us to balance maximizing the value from AI and at the same time making sure that we could become the best leaders and help people move in the direction which is good for the business, for individuals, and for the community and society? Where are we heading and how should we behave? How should we lead? That's what we want to talk about. And we have for that Shaukat Ali Khan, Global Chief Information Officer with Aga Khan University. Hey, Shaukat, how are you?
Hello, Sanjog. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us. So, as I shared in the introduction, we are all talking, dreaming, bleeding AI nowadays. And we do talk about the different aspects of AI on multiple fronts. But before we go into the leadership side of it, there's a huge concern related to the ethics in terms of how AI should be used or is being used in the business processes. So let me ask you, when you are working alongside your business and other technology stakeholders and even partners and customers, what's your take on the ethics side of AI and how are you approaching it so that we do justice to the AI ethics?
Thank you, Sanjog. And it's a very interesting question. And not only AI with any field, but we are at the moment discussing about AI. So I will focus my talk on this one. So as a leader in any field, I am the CIO of a university and hospital. So there's a huge responsibility of integrity on us. And whenever I am saying integrity towards our data, to our patient data, our students' data, and the entire mechanism around that, that includes the patient treatment, that includes giving the education. So it is important to approach the ethical consideration of implementing artificial intelligence in each and every process we actually use in our institution with the responsibility and accountability, because integrity is the one which actually makes us unique, which makes us a leading institution of this part. This also means that considering the potential impact of AI on individuals, on our society, and also our environment, and taking steps to mitigate any negative effect on this one. And the way we approach at the Aga Khan University is that we clearly put together the ethical guidelines and principles for developing these initiatives. As of now, as we speak, we have an AI advisory committee, which has been mandated to come up with the suggestions on the ethical guidelines, on the ethical values, ethical principles, and then how we are going to use by considering all different segments of our stakeholders. That includes our own colleagues, that includes our patients who we treat, that includes also our students who we actually teach. Because it's very important to engage with stakeholders, including our colleagues around, our patients, our students, and the broader community to understand their concerns and perspective on the use of this new emerging technology called AI, which has been there from last 15, 20 years. But I think in the recent past, especially with the new adoption of ChatGPT, every single person is concerned, and their input and their feedback is equally important before using it massively. So I think as a leader in an educational and healthcare institution, it's very important for me and for our institution to consider this ethical approach. And how we are dealing with this is by engaging within the different experts from around the world. At the same time, engaging different stakeholders within the university. And then gradually we will take this forward to our patients and also students.
Now, you talk about the ethics from a business perspective, and that's what, of course, my question was. But how much of that approach to handling ethics is sitting well with your business users? Are they able to place trust that, yes, AI will be used ethically?
I think that's the important question of integrity, right? Because this has many folds. For example, this has the awareness of what is going to be used, how this is going to be used, how this has been developed at the first place, and what is the expectations from our stakeholders. There are many questions. So how we are going to deal with it as of now, on a regular basis, we do awareness programs. We bring experts from all over the world. Recently, just 3 days ago, we actually invited an expert from Coventry University from United Kingdom to talk about her experience of implementing AI in a higher education product. And then what we should do, what we should not do, what are the challenges. And I think we are doing same as the world is doing. We are using and we are learning at the same time from our partners, from our through our collaborations. At the same time, we are asking for feedback and then improving ourselves. As I mentioned, we have put together a mechanism of experts based on different type of backgrounds to come up with their recommendations of this dynamic change in this new approach. So there are confusions, there are concerns as well, but at the same time, I think we are going, everybody wanted to use it, but everybody wanted to know what is the safe side, how we can best utilize this emerging technology in our day-to-day doings.
Now, when we are talking about beyond ethics, ethics is a component which will instill trust, but it is much more that when we are going to implement it, it's not going to cause us harm. That's one threat people face. And secondly, the very reason why we are going to use AI is going to be actually useful, and what it produces as an outcome is going to be something I could trust, right? It should not harm me, but even if it did, if I have an assurance that it will not harm me, but what it produces will actually help me. So more harming and helping need to be making sure that it doesn't harm me, but it's going to for sure help me. Otherwise, why should I even waste my time? How do you ensure that people start trusting it?
As I mentioned, and your first question, I will just refer back to ethical considerations. I think that ethical guidelines are very important, that we should establish ethical guidelines for the use of artificial intelligence. And this should be communicated to our colleagues and our stakeholders also. At the same time, there should be a transparent view of implementing and looking into this, that we should be transparent about how we are using, right? And then what data being collected. It's very important that our stakeholders should know that what data we are going to collect from them. And then it should be clear about the limitations of the technology as well. We should be upfront that these are our limitations. And at the same time, education. We should educate, and we have a long plans, and we have already started this, that we are educating our colleagues on its potential benefits and risk also, so that they can understand how artificial intelligence is being used, and then we will be able to build trust in this technology. At the same time, collaboration is another important part, that we should collaborate with experts. As I mentioned, that we are regularly inviting experts from all over, whether it's the technology companies, whether it's academia, who are already using and experiencing, to learn from their experiences about how they are using, what are the benefits, what are the risks they have been seeing so far. So I think collaboration is very important. And also, I think one of the most important focus area nowadays is data privacy. that we are prioritizing our data privacy and security when we are implementing our artificial intelligence. And remember, we are operating in 6 countries with Pakistan, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Afghanistan, and United Kingdom. So that means we have to be mindful of data privacy laws from all these different type of countries, and also complying with the relevant regulations and laws. And then the last one, which is accountability, that we should have a clear guidelines on accountability of the use of AI. And then this is something our policy committee, which I mentioned earlier, has been mandated to come up with the form of accountability, how our faculty and then students are going to use, and then what we are going to do with the data, and what is the actually accountability around this part.
So when we speak about the value, right? The business value. So one is that, okay, we try to make sure we assure people. But on the other side, the very reason we started getting on this AI bandwagon is because there is some anticipated business value. And there is a huge potential of innovation that could be founded on this AI backbone, if you will. So to what degree, when you started, as you started playing with AI, right? What are some of the avenues which are really showing the real potential? Because you can anticipate a whole lot of things, but the reality sometimes is not as great. What have you found as you started dabbling with AI?
I think some of the consideration when we started is that at the moment the data needs to be diverse, because of course there's a big sandbox from where all this data is coming. But at the same time, I think what is important, what we have, we can see as of now, is that the data has potential to be more diverse. When I'm saying diverse, is that we are part of developing countries. We are operating in this part of the world. How much of the population was involved when this was established? And then what is the potential of further improving? Further improvement is by engaging more and more on this part of the world, or the areas which has not been represented as form of our repository. So I think the important part is involving diverse stakeholders. This is something we are actually experiencing. For example, the different type of ethical background. In some questions when we ask, then we clearly we get the response that it is not relevant to our context. Because what is important is that wherever we are, however we are using, is to resonate to the context, and that's where I think there is potential for improvement. And this is one of the areas wherever I discuss, I tell them that it's very important to have these diverse stakeholders, that we should involve populations from different type of ethical backgrounds, different type of diverse backgrounds, ethnicities, and then all those type of things, to make sure that it should resonate to their context as well. And then because this is a journey which has started, and I think there is already an amazing outcome we can see, but at the same time, we can already see that there's a potential for the future as well.
So how far have you envisioned the different ways you could leverage AI? Because you know what? One is, of course, there is tremendous potential and you can start painting pictures of how you're going to use AI. But at the same time, we are finding AI itself is morphing very fast, and it's growing, it is evolving, it is showing more and more potential in the ways it can be used. So are you allowing it to stabilize before you will go and start investing, or you're okay to leverage whatever it is offering today, but then maybe your strategies would be underutilizing AI in 3 months from now, and because of which you are holding back? What is your approach to this? You're waiting and watching, or you're jumping in head over heels?
No, we are jumping, but we are jumping in a cautious way. We are jumping, and the first step is to identify the tasks and roles that are most likely to be impacted by this new emerging and artificial intelligence and then through automation. So we are identifying those type of tasks. We have already started using it actually for some of additional relevant additional information. And then we are at the moment integrating AI with different type of our roles and responsibilities, but in a very cautious way. At the moment, we are testing those things through our innovation labs, through our test environments, to see the relevance, to see the impact of this one. And then gradually, once our testing part is completed, then we gradually start introducing towards our systems. And this also includes providing training and development opportunities to help our employees acquire new skills. Because remember, now there is the entire mechanism of fixed type of jobs. Maybe some of them will be replaced by artificial intelligence. But that also means that we have to train our existing colleagues in this new skill set and then prepare them for our future requirements, because some of those skill sets may not be required anymore in the future. So at the moment, if you ask me where we are at the Ironclad University, we are using multiple solutions on our test environment at the moment, where we are evaluating the impact of it, the accuracy of it, the relevance and the context of where we are operating. And then gradually we will start using this. And this can be used in our administrative part, like our call centers, on our marketing platforms. At the same time, this will have an immense benefit on the decision support from the clinical point of view, or a second line support, decision support for our clinical view as well. So those are all the areas we are looking into. And at the same time, we are putting the guidelines and principles for our training part about what should be allowed, what should not be allowed, what should be the limitations, and how far we can ask students to rely on this, and then where are the boundaries, so that their learning will still be continuing, and then their improvements on their daily skill sets will not be only rely on AI and ChatGPT, but then their originality will come out from their learning performance. So all those things are happening while we are discussing today.
Let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back. And so while you set up some boundaries on what can be done, what cannot be done, when we come back from the break, Shaukat, like to further explore what do you do when the whole fundamentals of how AI is operating, while it will not fundamentally shift, but it will morph into something totally different, which we don't even know today. Because people are anticipating and they're almost extrapolating, saying it's going to become sentient, or it's going to have some other things which is going to come and haunt us, or it's going to fundamentally disrupt something. So all your policies, all your expectation setting, would that all have to be thrown away? Or you are building something in a way where you are stacking it up so that nothing is throwaway work with all the effort that you're putting in? What do you think is the likelihood of you preserving whatever investments you're making today? Or is this going to be, take it as it comes, we are jumping on the bandwagon and we will keep destroying what we create to make way for the new? What's the approach? So please stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back and explore.
Today, enterprise technology is both strategic and global. Each week on CTN CIO Talk Network, IT thought leaders from around the world share their experience with listeners as they discuss with Sanjog Al how they are trimming costs and partnering with business to innovate and help IT become more competitive, better care for customers, and improve the corporate bottom line. If you want to keep up with IT thought leadership, listen to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Al at CIOTalkNetwork.com. You are listening to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Al. To learn more about our program, please visit CIOTalkNetwork.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. So, Shaukat, you mentioned about building policies as if this was a mature paradigm, right? And be able to build on what we are talking today. So, is it realistic and is it prudent and is it cost effective for us to lay down an ironclad set of policies, procedures, processes to handle AI when it is such? Is it prudent and is it cost effective for us to lay down an ironclad set of policies, procedures, processes to handle AI when it is such a morphing beast?
Yeah, I think this is very, very important, because the rapid evolution of AI is challenging the current traditional leadership style in several ways, right? Artificial intelligence is changing the way we work, communicate, and make decisions now. And we as a leader need to adapt to these changes and learn how to effectively integrate AI into our institution. This requires a new set of skills, such as data analytics, machine learning, and programming. I always say that now, actually, artificial intelligence is like mathematics, like core for every single a child who is studying their basics. They should start learning about these things. And also, secondly, artificial intelligence is changing the nature of work itself. As I mentioned earlier, that a lot of routine are being automated, which means that we as a leader need to focus on developing new skills and competencies that are not easily replaceable by machines. And the skill, if you will ask me, okay, what are those skills which cannot be easily replaceable, right? Like creativity of a human intelligence, critical thinking, we can talk about the emotional intelligence there, we can talk about. We need to develop these type of things. And also, it is also changing the way we interact with our customers and stakeholders. And we need to also understand how AI can be used to improve our customer experience and engagement so that they can still be engaged, improve their experience, and how to effectively communicate actually with our stakeholders about, as I mentioned earlier, the benefits and risks around these technologies. So to adopt all these rapid changes, opportunities, or challenges, we as a leader need to be open to learning and experimenting new ideas. This need to be there needs to be a willingness to try new things, take risks, and learn from failures. And as you mentioned, are we going to have our rules and regulations now, and then they will still be relevant, for example, next year or next 3 years, 5 years? No, that's not the case. We are actually living in a world where even 90 days or 180 days are too long. We need to, that's why I mentioned that this dynamic committee, because we have to adjust our policies as we go along, because we are going to learn new things. We will be challenged by new challenges. We are going to listen from across the board from all our stakeholders through collaborations and through best practices. And then we are going to align ourselves to better prepare ourselves for this new world of emerging technologies when rapid changes or disruptions. So I think what we are doing at the moment, that's the foundation. And this will be actually ongoing basis. This will continue. There will be improvements, adjustments. And I think that's another skill for leader, that we cannot just continue to work like we are doing now. We have to accept that there's a changing world. That means there are changing skills. And we need to first learn those skills and adopt those skills to better prepare ourselves for the future.
Now, one of the things is you're going to look at how things change, and the good news is that you are showing that adaptability, which any organization should be doing given the AI, the changes in AI that are happening. That's great. Now, when you're talking about the very people who are the backbone of your current organization, while AI might change, the technology might change, but hopefully you would like to keep those people motivated and effective and productive. But then the very same people are getting increasingly nervous or excited, or both, about how AI is changing, because they do not know that today they should be excited about it, only to find out they have to be nervous tomorrow, because suddenly even the things that they do today, that will be taken over by them, by AI. So the very people who you want for the foundation, the very people who you want to leverage or harness the value of AI, are the ones who are jittery. How are you handling that human aspect of that workforce?
Yeah, I think at one time for example, I am heading the technology colleagues right across the institution. So around in last town hall, which was around 5 months ago, I asked my colleagues to come up with initiatives in AI. Start actually, of course, as I mentioned, that everybody is aware of the artificial intelligence. Now we are more on the application, on the impact on each of us. So I think the training part and education part, awareness part is very important. So what we do is that we enable our colleagues to learn more about artificial intelligence, through, as I mentioned, that we invite experts, we send them for trainings, we do internal awareness sessions to make sure that we are preparing ourselves in this one. And this is one of the important part which is required in this part. Other one is the communicating with our colleagues, encourage on open communication, and then discuss about artificial intelligence and create different platforms where we can share our thoughts and not only good things, but also challenges, risks, concerns, and then ideas on these ones. Especially one of the area which is also important for us is addressing fears and disinformation or misconceptions in this domain, so that we can openly discuss a transparent discussion, and then reflect on the information we are receiving on accuracy and relevance of that information. And there are so many myths and misunderstanding, as it's also very important to address those myths and misunderstanding in the context where we are operating, so that we can build this confidence. And also we encourage our colleagues that whoever is interested in artificial intelligence or relevant projects, whatever they are doing, because different type of skill sets required in these type of things. So involving them in these initiatives, these projects, so that they are part of this development with us, which will not only give them the perspective of confidence, but also the capacity building in a new area part. And then encouraging collaborations between the human part and then the machine part, the AI system. This will also help them understand how these machines are actually a complement human work. And I think one of the biggest revolution in my view is that AI has been there for many years, but what has been changed now? Before, actually, all our programs were to make sure that systems can understand. Now, actually, system understand our language. We talk to our system. And I think that experience of how this is happening, you will not get until you start using it. So it's very important to have this culture of openness, culture of transparency, collaboration, and to understand and accept that this is an emerging technology and we are going to leverage the benefit of this one.
Now, while we spoke about those people, some ways you would handle processes and there would be risks of all kinds. But to have all of these properly, like these people, whether stakeholders, customers, partners, your own employees, you yourself as a leader have to start looking within and seeing how should you be evolving? What's the kind of muscle you need to develop? So when you do your reflection, what are you thinking as a leader yourself? Because I think there's a lot of eyes on you, right? Given AI is a technology and you are supposed to be leading technology for your organization.
And I think this is a really important part. As I mentioned that as a leader, it's very important that I also read about it. I also understand and embrace data-driven decision making, because that's the requirement in the age of artificial intelligence, that we have access to vast account of data and that can inform decision making. Actually, it's very important for me as a leader to analyze and leverage this data, so that I am in a position to make informed decisions and relying more and more on data-driven decisions, actually. My role as a leader is also to fostering a culture of innovation, because this technology is evolving constantly. And we are able to stay we are only able to stay at the forefront of the developments if we have the culture of innovation. Right. And this also means that we also accept the failures. So I said, fail fast. Just do it, but then fail fast. Don't spend too much time while you're failing. So emphasizing on collaboration, as I mentioned, I'm a big supporter of doing. The last 2 years, we have invited many international leaders to talk about all these emerging technologies. And most of our topics are AI-driven. About the technology, about the application, about the impact of it, about the risks around it, about the privacy, as we just mentioned, and about the fears of this has. So I think based on all those things, so I have a strong belief that we should continue emphasizing on our collaborations not only with the institutions and experts, but also collaboration between humans and machines. Now, this is a new type of collaboration so that we should be understanding how these machines are working and then how they are understanding our language and then where are the boundaries. And of course, the ethical part is important, prioritize ethical considerations. So for me as a leader, it's same as any other leader that it's very important for me to understand and how things are evolving, what needs to be there, what are the basic principles, and what are the actual experiences and feedbacks around the world. Open your eyes and ears actually, and then actually learn as we go, because there are so many things which we are aware of, but there are so many unknowns which we are not aware of at this time. And maybe if we are open towards learning, towards collaborations, then gradually we will start improving in these grounds as well. And this is the same approach for me.
One last question. What's your message for other leaders who are in the same boat? And I think almost all technology leaders and business leaders are in some form or fashion influenced and or are required to make sense of AI and also get business value at the same time, keeping the human centricity of why we exist here on this planet. What's your message for the leaders who are also grappling with this based on your own experience? So share the belief and share the belief which has developed and is developing based on what you are experiencing yourself as a leader.
I think a very important message is prepare for this transition. There is a huge transition going on. So we have to prepare for this. What this means is that we just need, and this is something we are doing at the Al Khan University, that we are investing in the artificial intelligence technologies. And also we are putting a lot of focus on training our colleagues to work alongside with these systems so that we will have better understanding. And there's an important part to understand about this ethical part of it, and then transparency around these systems of how we are going to ensure that we are within the ethical boundaries and we are transparent. And at the same time, depends on wherever you are working on, whether you are in North America, whether you're in Europe, Africa, Asia, wherever you are. What is also important is to reflect on the context of where you are working. Because remember, we have ethical difference, different type of perception that maybe in one culture something is acceptable, but in another culture is completely not acceptable. So I think those local contexts is also very important. So as a leader, what is important is that open your minds and eyes and ears, learn from everything, absorb all that knowledge, reflect on what should be relevant for your context, and then open to improve yourself on a daily basis. At the same time, open for all those collaborations from around the world, because this is something we are all in the same boat. So we have to learn from each other. And we as a university, Al Khan University, are always open for new collaborations and new ideas, new initiatives, where we can bring value towards our patients, where we can bring value to our health systems and education systems where we are operating. As just because you mentioned this is the last question, so I would also like to just emphasize that we as an institution working on 4 basic principles called IQRA, IQRH. I is for impact, Q is for quality, R is for relevance, and A is for access. And through these technologies, through our partnerships, through our collaborations, if we see a potential of bringing impact to the societies where we are operating, if we can improve the quality of our teaching, our patient care, if we are relevant to the needs of the societies, and if we can make the access easy for our customers who are our patients and students, we are always open for new ideas and working with institutions who can bring value in these domains.
Once again, thank you so much, Shaukat. I think you've started the journey. You've had your own learns and trials and tribulations, and your inputs are spot on in terms of how organizations can embrace AI, help everyone trust it, and perhaps harness its value. So thank you so much for sharing how the leaders today should be able to rewire themselves and also get other people to come up to speed on what truly AI's potential is and how to make full use of it at the same time, not lose their sanity. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sandhu. Thank you very much.
And listeners, please connect to us on social media. Subscribe to our podcast. Once again, thank you for listening to CTN. This is your host, Sanjog All. Till next week, take care and God bless.